Yeah.
in
general.
Let me ask you this from your professional opinion. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. I've always had the mindset that women are just naturally more narcissistic than men are because they have to have self-interest to, you know, preserve their safety, which in turn will preserve their children, which will preserve the next generation of human beings, right, and continue civilization. And women get mad at me for saying this, but, you know, from what I see, right, women are more interested in the way that they look. They're more interested in themselves. They typically tend to look at what can I gain out of this situation. We talked earlier about how women always make sure that they operate at a net positive when dealing with the men, versus men are more okay with dealing with a net negative if required to get what they want. Would you say that women in general have more narcissistic tendencies than men do?
Okay, so this is what I'll say about this.
Sure.
So all people start out narcissistic. Like
Okay.
a child is essentially narcissistic. It can't be otherwise. It's not able to empathize. It's not able to take another person's perspective and see things from a different angle. The boy or the girl is egocentric. He or she thinks everything is about him or her.
The crying baby example.
What do you mean?
No, I mean, like, because you're saying when you're a baby and the baby's crying, he doesn't give a fuck about you getting woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
I need something.
Yeah.
It's the most
milk
important thing in the entire universe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Understood.
So all children behave that way. And all children are kind of tyrants, and they kind of have to be tyrants for a while. It's like you can't reason with it. You can't speak to it. But eventually, as it grows up and it learns language, you can kind of break their spirit a little bit. You don't want to break it too much because who wants a broken person?
Good point.
But you do have to kind of injure the child's narcissism appropriately as he or she ages.
Yeah.
So most people grow out of their narcissism. However, if you're a very attractive woman, that's almost like being a young man with a trust fund. It's like, can you imagine if you never had to like work a crappy job?
Yeah.
If you had to be paid minimum wage.
Yep.
If you had to cold call and 200 people hung up on you, like it teaches you some humility a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like a really rich man is like a really beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And the game is just really different. I remember a long time ago, I was dating this extremely physically attractive woman. She was a Brazilian lingerie model. And we had a number of disagreements. She thought that people were just so kind and giving. And everywhere she went, men especially were just like offering to give her things. And she thought that's because she was a good person. And that these men could see that. Like on the surface, her goodness. And we did a couple of experiments that kind of disabused her of this. Like, for example, there was a guy that she knew casually that was hitting her up, trying to get her to come out to New York while she's dating me in California. And I said, you know, this is a little sketchy. She's like, what do you mind? He's just being friendly. You know, he cares about me. And I was like, okay, here's the experiment. Say you're interested in coming, but ask him where you're going to sleep. And he hemmed and hawed and was like, oh, I guess you can sleep on the couch. You know, we'll get you a separate room. I was like, yeah, you have to understand that he's doing this because he's trying to get in your pants, sweetie. But she couldn't really see it at the time. She was 23, 24. She was also young. The prefrontal cortex apparently doesn't stop developing or maturing until 25. Yeah, you got it. So we'll give her a little bit of a pass there. But if you just have money, you don't understand how hard it is for a lot of people who don't have it. And if you're extremely beautiful as a woman, you don't understand how hard it is in many other respects. You have a very distorted view of humanity because people always want things from you. Like, how many rich guys can really be sure who their friends truly are? You know what I'm saying?
I have a friend actually that kind of fits that example. He actually moved to Colombia, super successful guy. Always had girls around him, had guys, people asking him for stuff. But he realized that like his whole life was built up around people trying to take it from him. And he said, you know what? I just need to get away. Moved to Colombia, and it's like no one knows him. He doesn't speak any Spanish. So it's kind of like, all right, this kind of like I'm separate from my reality of like, hey, bro, I need this, I need a loan, I need that, and this. It's kind of like, you know what? He stepped away. Now he's like, okay, now I can see for what it was. People didn't want to use him for his stuff all the time.
So
it happens.